Instead of thinking about, what it is that you're good at or great at, but what is it that builds your energy? When you do something, you never get tired when you're doing this. What is it that you do that you never get tired of doing? Because that's probably what you love to do. It's when you're not calculating how many minutes you were doing it, how many hours it took you to do it. It was just the outcome was all that mattered.
And welcome to another installment of Behind Greatness by Inspire. It's Luciano here as your host. As usual, just want to remind the listener, please subscribe if you are not subscribed already. Share with your family and friends. And if you are so inclined to donate to our cause, most of our regular listeners know that we are now also a charity, not just a not-for-profit. And we issue tax receipts. Just go to behindgreatness.org and you can find it all there, along with all the library of past guests we've had over the last couple of years and change. We are, as our regular listener knows, we are speaking to very interesting people across the globe from all stripes of life and industry. And today is no different. Today is a little bit of a special case too, because he is also an Inspire alum. So he's been with us for a while, and I'll go into it after I read his bio a little bit more. So today we have Anthony Scilipoti. Anthony and his partners founded Veritas Investment Research in 2000, 22 years ago. He is a fellow chartered public accountant and a fellow chartered accountant, a certified public accountant from Illinois, but in Illinois, and a member of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. He is a licensed portfolio manager, and he also serves as a member of the Ontario Securities Commission's Continuous Disclosure Advisory Committee, and been doing so since 2006. In 2019, Anthony was appointed to the board of the Capital Markets Advisory Committee of the International Accounting Standards Board. He also began teaching in 1997 as a part-time accounting instructor at York University in Toronto for MBA and BBA programs, and did that for several years, also achieving teaching excellence awards. And even though he no longer lectures, he does guest lecturing in undergraduate and graduate levels. And he runs custom training programs on financial statement analysis and business valuation for CFA societies in Canada and the US. And today, Anthony is also an advocate for investor rights. He is a frequent media commentator and public speaker on issues related to financial accounting and disclosure, and is considered an industry expert in special situations related to accounting. In 2006, Anthony was awarded the Award of Distinction by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Ontario for his impact and leadership in the accounting profession among those under 40, way back in 2006. You can see a little bit more about Veritas at veritascorp.com. And for the listener, for the regular listener will know, because we mention Veritas quite often, they are a sponsor to Inspire and Behind Greatness, managing the charity fund as well for us on our behalf. So a public thank you to you, Anthony, and your team, including Mark.
Thank you.
So the listener will not know it. I didn't mention that. I didn't tell you that I was going to mention this, but we went to the same high school, but you're a few years older than me. So we didn't know each other in high school. And in high school, you were you were very well known. You were you were an alpha male. You were public and present. And it was more like Anthony Scilipoti was an idea for people.
Wow.
So I was a scrawny little 14, 15-year-old when you were a senior. But that name was never forgotten. And then when I saw you again in my 20s, when I was doing my MBA, you were a TA. Or no, you were a guest lecturer, I think, in one of my classes. Like, wow, it's Anthony Scilipoti. It's no longer just an idea. But years prior, you were also in undergrad, you were also a leader, Frosh Week leader.
Yep.
And there was a whole bunch of our guys from high school that went, and we were all 18 years old, 19, and you were, again, a few years older, 21, 22, and you were a leader. And everybody would talk about Anthony Scilipoti. Oh, yeah, he's a leader. And we still didn't know each other. But anyway, just wanted to tell you how much of an idea you were for many years until we finally met, and then obviously became friends.
Wow. Well, I'm humbled.
Yeah. Well, so listen, well, thank you for saying humbled. Because ego's a big thing here. You and I have had discussions over the years about this, but especially in the chats we had for this podcast. What is it about? Well, why don't we start this way? We talked about judgment. What is? Give me your thoughts on judgment. Like you might have left field, eh?
Yeah. Judgment is relative. I can't make a call on whether something is better or worse, good or bad, without having some frame of reference. That frame of reference comes from my experience, my opinion, my beliefs. I think to make proper judgments, if we're just to evaluate that, you have to look for facts, and you have to leave your emotions, your preconceived notions. We all have those at the door. And if you're going to make a judgment on something, you have to evaluate it based on the facts. And too often we will overlook those facts because no, I've seen this before. I've been here, I've done that. This is how the outcome's going to be, and this is what we should do. And that's a blind spot, and we have to be careful of that because that could lead to bad decisions and therefore bad outcomes later. Let's not say bad, good. I hate that. And negative outcomes, or outcomes that are pejorative to what you intended.
So let's pair that with gut feeling. So you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
You've had a very long stint as an entrepreneur. You started. You told me a story a while ago about being 10 or 12, running a paper route. But let's go back to gut feeling. What you're 51 now. When did you start paying attention to your gut?
Forever. I think it's what's gotten me into trouble, and it's gotten me into success. And over my lifetime, I've improved that. And what you need to know is what are your weaknesses. And my weakness, which is also becomes my strength. If you do my Kobe score, I have a very high quick start. So I see you see an empty house. I see a triplex. I see the potential that could become a store one day, multi-unit, something that you maybe aren't quite thinking about. And the problem is the follow through. So I'm really good at details, which is odd for someone that has a very high quick start. So the detail is high, but the follow through not so high. So I have to surround myself with those people that have high follow through, and also surround myself with people that don't have high quick start, because that, as much as it gets in my way, it also makes sure that I spend time looking at the details and then make a better decision. So the better you know yourself, the better you're going to be able to have the gut feel guide you in a way that's leads to better outcomes.
This is really big for me. I know it's something simple. Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but I know it comes to you naturally and you listen to it. I didn't grow up very confident in my gut feeling. And, as a student, as just like an average student, I shouldn't say average student because, whatever. I don't want to comment on me, but just as an average individual going through the school system like everybody else, that's actually what I want to say. We're not taught, we're not trained, we're not we're not encouraged to listen to ourselves, to listen to our inner voice, to listen to our gut. That I find most people learn later on, or give themselves permission later on. Go.
I'm going to say, look, a lot of this, I'm going to give full credit to my parents. And I've tried to do the same with my 3 daughters. And life is about confidence, building and maintaining confidence. Because the more confident you are, the more you're likely to take chances. And one of the things that always growing up, my father would expose me to anything he was doing, and he's an entrepreneur as well. So, he would buy a house and renovate it, and he would talk to me about exactly what he was doing and why he was doing it. And he would take me on, because he's a cabinet maker by training, he would take me and teach me how to do what he was doing. And then he'd actually give me, oh, look, here's the hammer, here's the screwdriver, go do it. He didn't say, no, don't do it, you can't do it. I might have been like 5 or 6 years old, and I don't know what I was doing, simple things. But he said, no, you can do that, go and do this. Or he'd ask me, how do you think we should do this? And even as we were growing up, as I was then growing up and battling with that, I want to stay out later, I want to go here, I want to go there. He would ask me, what do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? Tomorrow, so you're going to stay at what time? Listen, I think you should. He'd tell me, I want you to be home at 11. Well, Dad, 11's too early. The thing gets going. We're here, there, whatever. He says, okay, so what's a reasonable time? And then I'd say, I don't know, I think 11, 12, 1. He says, that going to be okay? Tomorrow morning, you got to get up. You have to do all these things. You sure that's going to be okay? Can you stick with that time you said? And I said, yeah, I think I can. So then he would get me to make my own rules, which were tied to through a thought process of coming up with the let's call it a good judgment to use. That's what it is. He was building I don't think he knew that necessarily. He didn't think about it the same way we're discussing it now. He was trying to build improve my judgment and my confidence. Confident that I could make a decision. Confident that I could do whatever was going to be faced in front of me. And the other thing is, they never got in my way of doing things. We're gonna, I need to, I got this idea. I want to open this kind of business. We're going to sell these things. They would think I was crazy. A lot of people think when I have ideas and we're going to do these things, they think I'm crazy. And that's okay. When people tell me I'm crazy, I know I'm onto something. It makes me excited. Of
course. Because
if all I tell you is making you think that I'm crazy, but you have no details or an analysis that shows me why I'm crazy, it just doesn't feel right to you, I know I'm doing something that's going to change things. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to disrupt. Opportunity comes from disruption. You see something taking place a certain way, what am I going to provide that's going to make that situation better, add value to that chain of reaction, whatever the case might be. That's what entrepreneurs do. They create things. They see things that others don't see and are willing to make a tough decision to say, I'm going to do that. Anyway, so they always were supportive of me. No matter what I was doing, they would support obviously guide me, but they give me the support to make these tough decisions. I think that's what's allowed me to become successful, and most importantly, make other people successful. All of whether you're my friend or you're somehow doing work with me, I want to if you're helping my life get better, I want to help your life get better, because that's how we all win.
There is something else though. So let's go back. So let's stay there actually, when you were younger with your parents, because you did also say that you learned a lot from watching your dad. So this is something that you didn't add, that your dad had you go and use tools and just figure it out as well. I think that's also an important thing too, is we have to have, I'm going to say kids, but we have to have the people around us try things and make mistakes, because if they make mistakes, then we protect them. If we protect them, then they can't make decisions when they're older. And so I think we're going in a circular thing here, but it's just my 2 cents. So when you were young, there's also something else. You shared with me a story when you were younger about resilience in your own life. When you were 19, so the age of my son right now. Tell me, or share with us. if you don't mind.
Sure. When I was 19, I was going out with a woman, and we had become close. And I was now going into grade 13, so I was still 18 actually, and was going into grade 13. And we kind of ended. I wanted to end the relationship because it was kind of getting intense, but I didn't want to end the relationship. And then she got pregnant, and I was now 18 years old, and for the first time, my father was really upset with me, and I had lied to him, and it was not good. And they were going to kick me out of the house, and I'm at school, high school, and I'm principal of the school. I'm president of the school. I'm captain of the hockey team. I'm on the football team. There's a lot of things going on, and so it was a difficult time, and I made the decision at the time to come to an agreement with the mother that listen, I'm going to go to university. I'm going to do what I need to do. I can't be a father right now, and I don't want us to get married. I don't want us to be together. And it was not easy. I'm skipping over all the difficulties that come in any kind of difficult relationship in a difficult situation. But again, my family was very supportive. Her family also very supportive. And we moved forward after my daughter was born in 1990, and never said a bad word about each other to the daughter and or to others. And to this day, Edie was very impactful in my life, given that she was also an entrepreneur, and also she was older than I, so she had a little bit more experience in life. And we had a business together selling ladies' clothes. In the days when Sunday shopping wasn't a thing, and so you went to flea markets, and so we had booths, and we would sell things together. It was a great experience. But anyway, so I wasn't a part of her life for the first what almost amounted to 8 years, and then started to get involved. And today, Justine is a thriving young woman. That she's 32, if you do the math.
Awesome.
And she's an accountant. I didn't push her to be an accountant, but she's an accountant like me, and she's very successful as a controller at OCAD, and got married last year, and is very. I'm so proud of her and her husband. They've done very well. Also some entrepreneurial endeavors that she's involved in with real estate and a few other things. So you talk about nurture nature, and I didn't. Again, her mother was very, very supportive of her growing up, obviously, and I became much more involved as she grew up. And sometimes it's just having a warm ear. And the most important thing I tried to do the same thing, is create confidence for her. And there was nothing I never said you can't do. Can't is just a word that there's no such thing as can't. It's just a question of should you do this or not. You can't. We'll find a way, but don't tell me can't. Should you do this? Is it the right thing for you to do? That's the point that matters. And so that was a difficult thing for me to come to grips with, even to talk about it. I didn't talk about the situation for a number of years, and until I became comfortable with my own self and the decisions I had made, and my experience, and how much that taught me. And so thanks for asking. It has been a very important part of my life that has given me a lot of balance and ability, better judgments because of what I've been through.
So thank you for sharing this and sharing it publicly. I wasn't going to ask you the question, but knowing you and now knowing you better as we're middle-aged, as we come into middle age, you, like most people I know, are an onion. There are lots of layers. And what I appreciate about our conversations is that you're not afraid to share difficulties. And a lot of people, and I find especially in Western culture, we're afraid to share some of our failures and our challenges, even like one-on-one when you have conversations with folks, because people are afraid still. There's a fear of being judged for past mistakes or past failures. And it's just not right that we feel this way. So I don't want to go on and on about this. Let me go back to another story, because I really, I love this story that you gave when you were 13 at a supermarket. Do you remember this one? Because we were talking about what did we say? Let me say the word. The word coddling came into conversation. Then you told me the story.
I was my first job, official job, after the paper routes I took over all the paper routes in the area from all my friends and ended up subbing it back out to my friends on days that they could actually do the paper route. So I just built the whole group of built the whole neighborhood of 3 different routes. Anyway, but then I took a job in this small grocery store, and 2 Sicilian brothers ran it. Tom, and I believe that his brother was Rick. And Tom was tough, and Rick was more sales guy. And so, we used to have to shine the apples, because, Loblaws was right beside in the mall, but we sell, everything was AAA. The apples were all shined. They had to all be nice. And the floors had to be spotless. Everything had to be just perfect. And so my job was to shine the apples, put them up, store things in the freezer, fridge, take it in and out, and then clean the floors, sweep the floors, mop the floors, not just at the beginning and end of day, but during the day as well. And so the end of day came, and they would always inspect things. And so, some days a bit harder than others. And this one day I had done the mopping, and Tom came around and he said, "Is this clean?" He put his finger on the ground. He looked at it. He said, "Still dirty." He said, "You cleaned over here? This is not cleaning." He took the mop full of the pail that was full of water. He threw it all into the whole grocery store, which would have been about 2,000 square feet. And he just made a mess everywhere. He said, "Now go and clean it." And, at the time I was probably making $3.50. And, so that's what I did. I buckled up, I moved things around more, and I cleaned. And never again did he question my cleaning and my work ethic and my work. And that stuck with me. I had no problem with that. I thought he was being fair. It was not. I was getting lackadaisical with the work I was doing. And I wanted to go home, frankly.
Well, I mean, I could imagine my 13-year-old self, like, just being aghast at witnessing my boss dump the water back on the floor. Never mind, maybe crying. Like,
no, you're right. I don't know. I had the strength at the time to say, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. Fix it. I'll fix it." And that stuck with me all the time. I with the situation with Justine, there were 2 options. I could have climbed into a shell and hid under a rock and not pressed forward. But, something inside me said, no, I got things I got to do. I got to press forward, and I'm going to make this better. I'm going to make this right. And it's going to take time, but I'm going to do better, and I'm going to make this right. And that's what I've done with all the situations in my life.
It's funny. It's not funny, actually. I mean, having kids myself, I have to be cognizant of the fact that I'm creating memories with every interaction with my kids, and I want to create memories that are long lasting, because we all become, if we live that long, we all become 30 and 40 and 50 and 60, and we always have memory. We always have memories of our youth, and there are always going to be those pivotal little stories that help us. I hate to say the word. I want to find another word other than grow, but help us move along and learn lessons. And so I want to be part of the lesson learning with my kids, and with other people that are younger than me too. I want to be able to create that impact. It's satisfying. Because we're all the same. Anyway, again, I keep giving my 2 cents because I'm inspired to give my 2 cents every time I listen to these stories that you give. Let's go back. Let's go back again. And this is something I didn't know of you until very, very recently. So you're this alpha male. That's how I introduced you at the beginning. I think maybe it was unfair, maybe it wasn't, but
No,
it's fair. So would you want to say it was fair?
fair.
It's fair. So you're this alpha male growing up, and you had two siblings, and you have a wife and three daughters.
Yeah.
But you had an experience, a really different kind of experience with one of your siblings as well growing up. You want to share that?
So one of my siblings, my middle child, was born a male, and his name was Robert, and he was, he had 3.5 years roughly younger than me, and the complete corollary to my alpha male. I was out playing any sport I could. I wanted to buy a bike that looked like a motocross with a bike, like a motorcycle. That was my favorite thing. And he wanted to have a bike with a basket on the front. And I would pick on him. And as we then grew up, when kids are the way they are, and schools are really tough, others would pick on him. And kids are mean. You're gay, you run like a girl, and all this sort of thing. And so I eased up with picking on him, but I did still. And then we got to a point where puberty's supposed to come, and here I am trying to figure out my life. I'm 17 or 16, and he's 13, and things aren't happening the way they happened for me. And so, we go see doctors. They do all kinds of testing, psychological as well as physiological, and identify that he has some type of chromosome disorder, which is called Klinefelter's, and it's not very well known. But you see, or you've heard of humans that may have both genitalia. You may see ones that have, it's in the circus act, it'd be the bearded lady or the man with breasts or something like that. And so that's essentially what this is. The body actually has, instead of the XY, it's got XXY or something. In essence, I can't recall the exact chromosome, but the point is, his body was producing more estrogen than it should have at the time of puberty, and so was starting to become female, if you will. But the outside presentation was male. So how do we fix that? Well, that's pretty straightforward. We'll just inject testosterone and create, because that's what his body's not producing enough of, and that kind of makes sense. At least as this is now 1986, seems like it's going to make sense. 87, 88. Anyway, and yet you can't beat this. Like internally, his body's thinking he's female. And so he started, Halloween cross-dressing, and that became more frequent, and his interests were much different than mine. And then at some point, he was, I'll never forget, he was 17, I guess, years old, and not doing well in school. About to be 18. It was that year, and he said at our dinner table, we'd have dinner together as a family almost every night, unless there were things going on, but frequently. And he said, "Listen, Robert's dead, and my name is Julia, and I want to be known as Julia." And I don't think I've ever seen my father so distraught. And it was tough. Like, wow. And he wasn't dressing like a female at this time necessarily, but more, we knew, but it was but just imagine my parents, they're born in small town Italy, right? Come here. This was tough. Like, this was heavy. And, but you know what? So we all embraced it. We didn't reject her at all. We called her Julia. and supported her in what she wanted to do and how she wanted to live her life. It was very tough because not everyone in the world felt the same way, even as close family. It wasn't just, friends walking down the street. But that was important because, again, taught me about never judge. And I remember saying the eulogy, because you can only figure these things out in the end. It kind of all comes together in your life.
Sometimes that's what's shitty about human beings, that we learn a little bit too late.
Well, I've said everything's gonna all make sense to me when I'm at the end, when I'm in the box.
Yeah.
Before then, I'm constantly trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the point, how difficult it was for her to do anything. Just going out on the street in the morning for a walk or to get to whatever work she was doing in various restaurants and online stuff, and she would do shows. She was one of the original transsexuals, transgender, and she would do Miss Gay Universe pageants and raise money for AIDS awareness and all this sort of stuff. She was a champion within the gay community at the time, and she ended up moving down there. And my sister and I bought a condo so she could just live there without having to pay rent, because every month we were always supporting her somehow. So it's just like, we'll just buy the condo and you pay us whatever you can afford, and we're going to move forward here. And so I think it taught the takeaway was you just can't judge. I used to say, look, come visit, just get in the subway and come. The place was right at near the subway at Yonge and Wellesley. And it was like, look, we bought the place right near so you could just get on and go everywhere. It's like, no, can you come pick me up? I'll take a taxi. But she didn't have a lot of money for taxis, so that would have to be subsidized by Louis or something. But it never occurred to me just how difficult that would have been. And that's because she was uncomfortable inside herself. And when someone would look at her, she would know that person was going, is that stubble I see at the side of your skin or what?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird, because you don't have a Adam's apple and kind of look like a girl, and talk like a girl, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of all that sort of stuff. So she was very much more female than she made herself more overtly female than women wake up and they go outside with no makeup. She would never do that. She would never go anywhere without everything being in perfect space, because she didn't want anyone to not think of her in what she felt inside. And so I could have been better. I could have been better and understood more of that, of what she was feeling. And then who knows?
Well, this is, and now I remember why I asked you about judgment at the beginning of the conversation, because when we were talking about this the last time, the lesson that you took away that you shared with me is the important thing is never judge a person today. Always see that they are an accumulation of their experiences.
That's right. And I always want to know where you've been. Where'd you grow up? How you doing? How did you get where you are? When I do my own podcast, The Fact Finders, I always ask people to tell me, well, how did you get to the seat you're in right now? Why did that happen? Because it didn't happen by accident.
Sure.
How many years ago you didn't imagine you'd be sitting in exactly that chair doing exactly what you're doing today? So what made that happen? Why did you decide to do that? And that's important, because then you can better understand who they are and how they're making judgments today. And then it's the same with investments. All of this is tied together, because when you look at a company today, you see how they're acting. You see the decisions they're making, the products that they have, where, in which markets, all this sort of thing. Understand that didn't happen just today. It's about how did that get there? And then when you understand how it got there, you can evaluate the sustainability of where this company is going. And you can evaluate their decision-making process and evaluate management's judgment. Because that you can only judge people's judgment when they're forced to make a judgment.
I'm going to be forceful in making this assumption. Perhaps this was one of the best learning experiences that your sister Julie gave you. And you bring this into your work. So going to your work, you bring this into your work because your work is not your work. And we talked about this too. We have it. Your work is your life. Your life is your work. Your life is your life. It's all one mishmash because that is where you live. You
to be successful, you never should be working a day in your life.
Mm-hmm. Explain.
That's been coined from a and his name may come to me, but he's a client of ours, and we're working with his philanthropic endeavors. I asked him. I always ask entrepreneurs why they do what they do and what makes them successful. What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? And that's how he put it, and that stuck with me. Is you never need to work. I've never worked a day in my life, and yet when someone looks from the outside at me, they'd say, "Auntie, but you're working 7 days a week."
You're always working.
And it's like, because it's in it's all, everything you do. When I get you say you're analytical. You say you want to be an analyst. Okay, so you walk down the street. Did you notice anything, or did you just walk down the street and not notice anything? Analysts are always analyzing. They're always, what's different? Why is something a certain way? And what does that mean to whatever decision I need to make? And you need to have an open mind, and you need to be just aware. And, to many that want to be successful analysts or successful decision makers, they're not capturing this essence that they have to be curious, innately curious, not just, I'm curious when I have to be. It has to be in everything.
Well, there's a point, and I just wrote this here as you were saying this, just to have it make more sense for me. Like your vocation. So what I think you're really saying, and if you are, I agree with it. Your vocation is really your being, not your work.
Yeah. I want to make the world a better place. And I think we do that through helping people make better investment decisions, make better decisions with their philanthropy. And I think it circles all around. If people make better investment decisions, they'll have more money. If they have more money, they're going to enjoy the fruits of life. If they're giving back, and where they're giving back is having meaningful impact to society and to community, that's going to be positive for themselves and all those that they care about. And that if everybody just does a little bit of it, it's amazing what's going to happen. But it can't just, there's no 9 to 5. And then it has to be like, I'm so proud of the people that work within the various different organizations that we have here at Veritas, because there's a lot of passion. You don't just analyze companies and or manage money or work in philanthropy. And it's 5 o'clock, I got to go home. It's like, well, the company just reported information. You're reading something that's going to impact the fund. You're reading something that's going to help the charity improve their governance, improve their impact, whatever. If you care, the time is irrelevant. How long did it take? I don't know. My guys, when I ask them, how long did it take you to do this? My favorite answer is, my God, Anthony, I don't know. I kind of lost track. Then you know that these are real people. These are
losing
people.
Track.
If you're tracking, I think it was 4 hours and 22 minutes. Okay, this guy, this girl, not going to work in our business. Sorry, I don't know. Sorry. I think it's okay. You know what? You're going to be okay, but you're not going to excel. Like excelling is, it didn't matter how long it took. I wanted to do a job that was going to add value and make a difference. And that can't always be, you can't measure it. Sometimes it might take 5 minutes because, you say, well, I came to that decision. How long did it take you to come to that decision? Oh, it was just that. I was like, well, was it really just that? Or was it 51 years getting ready? That moment, that day you did these 5 things, prepared you to make that decision. That's what really happened. Everybody on the outside sees, oh, he just made that decision so fast. How does he do it making all these fast decisions? But they didn't see the preparation that came before that decision. When I reviewed a whole bunch of stuff or thought about it while I was sitting in my car or whatever. I have a notepad beside my bed. I got a notepad in my car, right? All these things. So when I think of something, I write it down. And then when you write it down, 2 things happen. One, you ingrain it somewhere because you moved your hand and it actually gets ingrained in your memory better. And you can refer back to it. And at the same time, you free your mind to have another idea.
Yeah.
What happens when you have an idea and it just germinates? Oh, I can't forget to do this. I can't forget to cut the grass. I can't forget to go over with my son his math problem, or ask my wife about this thing, or my husband, or whatever the case. Well, if you have that in your mind, you can't think of anything else. It weighs on your whole day. It gets in the way, and you can't make other good decisions. You say, I had such a terrible day. Why'd you have such a terrible day? Because I was stressed about this one thing, and it's gotta, well, that one thing's gonna happen. So you stressed about it for 8 hours. That didn't change that one thing happening. So write down why you're stressed, address the stress, and put it away. It's a very stoic attitude. I believe in stoicism heavily. There's a great book.
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius. We've talked about this.
Yeah, Meditations.
The daily Stoic.
Oh, yes. I subscribe to that guy too. Yeah.
Halliday does a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great book. I've read it about 4 times over, every year, every day for 4 years. And so now I reflect on some other things, some of the meditations directly from Marcus Aurelius, and then other just my own notes that I've made over time. I'll read them over.
Why do you run marathons?
Because they are. I want to do things that, again, people say that's crazy. That's pushing every part. I want to push myself in everything I do to be the best I can be. And so if the guy that ran the 26 miles the first time died when he finished the 26 miles, I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that says, I did that 26 miles. I didn't die. I can do it. Because it has to beat that can't, right? I don't want to have any can'ts.
Well, the first time I asked you that question, I wanted to see what you'd say. The first time you said it is exactly the way you ended off this answer the second time. You said, when I said, why do you run marathons? You said, because I can. I told you I hurt my back last week. And so I went to an acupuncturist, and the acupuncturist said, your feet are your second heart. Because if they're not in balance, you can't circulate. And so when we were talking about running a marathon, you had hip surgery last year, right? 18 months ago. And the doctor said, Anthony, you have to stop running. And you said you didn't want to, because that's, what did you say? The rhythm of the feet pounding in pavement helps you to pound out your thoughts.
Yeah, it was a heavy day in my life because I'd been running. I'd never been a runner. You point. I mean, I was a football player, hockey player, not. I mean, running. I did that kind of. I did cross country in grade 9, and Mr. Monahan, who was the guy, he weighed up 150 pounds, soaking wet.
Yeah, he was a thin guy.
But he was a phenomenal runner, right? And I would be like always bringing up the rear in the running with all the runners. And he said, well, here's our shot putter, because I also did shot put and sprinting in grade 9. And so, here comes the shot putter. He's coming back.
That's hilarious.
So, I was the shot putter. But I also said to him, look, I'll body check you too, Mr. Monahan. You don't want that to happen.
Nice.
Because I grade 9, I think I was 165 pounds.
You were one of these guys. You became a man at 14. Like it's
Not quite, but kind of. Yes.
yeah. That
Not
was the
quite.
opposite.
Yes. And so, yeah, I forgot where we were going with that.
No, about the rhythm of the feet pounding the pavement.
Yeah,
Pound
and
out your
so
thoughts.
I got back to running after as something to just push myself. When I, around 30 years old, it's kind of, we started the business. I needed something else to get back in shape because all I was doing was working. And working out, I'd always done, is kind of getting boring. And also playing hockey, there was, sure it was good, but didn't have the same, there has to be an outcome when I do things,
Mm-hmm.
And so the running was a great challenge. I could see that I start running, I'm going to run faster. And then I had a time to deal with, and then I had a distance to deal with, and all this sort of thing. And then swimming, and then biking. So I started doing triathlons. And it was a way to do something again that was, it's not for attention. It's just that I want to push myself to the max that I can, because if I push my body, I'm going to push my mind.
Mm.
And the training, you're right. I enjoyed the pounding of the feet because it's very soothing. I had many emotions during running.
So you're not escaping when you're running. You're not escaping from somewhere. You are engaged in your thoughts when you're running.
Yes. 100%. I'm engaging with my thoughts, thinking about what I'm going to do, some decision or something that's weighing on me, and I'll run while I'm running. I'll think about it because the pounding of the feet creates that rhythm. It's like saying prayer. You repeat the prayer 10 times so that you forget your other thoughts, and then you'll be amazed at what comes to your thinking after you while this pounding is happening like this, right? And yeah, and so that's when I left the doctor's office, and he said, "You got to stop running." That was about 6 years ago. I was crying. I was crying walking down the street.
Are you running now?
No, I since I had the hip surgery, I asked the surgeon. I said, "Can I run?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Yes, from fire." And I said, "That's a pretty."
I like your surgeon.
That's a pretty canned response. He says, "Yeah, well, everybody asks. I'm giving you the answer that I think, it's like having a tire. The tire is for a certain number of kilometers. It wears out. The hip's the same thing. You got a certain number of kilometers. I don't know when it's going to be, but, everybody jokes around. It's not like you look like a runner, Anthony, or 220 pounds. This is not the body of a runner. At 5'11", you're more like a linebacker or something. So this is not good."
Mm-hmm.
So he said the weight's not good on the joints. So anyway, I run a couple of times, but now I'm doing more biking and swimming.
That's your new running.
Yeah, the biking and the swimming, as well as boxing and a few CrossFit, all that kind of stuff.
Sure, throw in a few more sports. Why not? Because you can.
Again, it's kind of interesting because you can. That's
because correct. You can. We were to go back to the theme of interconnectivity and being with people, working with people, and so forth. Last couple of things here. You gave me, or you related a story when you were in Torino to watch your daughter qualify. Remember this in the restaurant? I remember, right? So I'll give you a little bit more. So your daughter plays hockey, and you were there to watch her qualify for the Olympics in Turin, and you were in a restaurant. You met a Sicilian guy, and you said to him, because you had a really good time, you were there 2-3 days or whatever it was, and you said, "I hope one day to meet again."
Yeah.
You remember?
And so, so we had a really good time, Sicilian guy, and this is in northern Italy. So Sicilians are like the bottom of Italy. They think they're their own little world because they're an island. They speak differently. They have their own language, their own little culture. The rest of it, especially the northerners, think they're the poor southerners, that farmers, while we're, way higher class in the northern. So here we are in Torino, which is like a bustling city, industry, etc. And he, just on the outskirts of Torino, in a small little village outside of Torino, he opens this pizzeria Italian place. And we hit it off because he's nearby, so I go walk by. We hit it off because he's Sicilian. We have a good chat, and I ended up bringing the team there twice to have dinner, and we hit it off phenomenally well. And then I sat with him late the last night, and we're drinking and having a good time chatting about life. And I said, "We'll see you again," and see you again. And he said, "We probably won't." And I was like a little bit taken aback because he seemed like he was being negative. Like we had such a nice, warm conversation. His wife was working with him and his daughter, and he met my wife and my daughter, and so it was really nice. All this, and I thought we had better rapport. And he's like, "We probably won't." I go, "Wow, why do you say that? Why you say it like a negative?" She's not a negative. He just says, "I know my job. I'm a restaurant. I make people happy when they're passing through. You're not living here. You're not going to live here. You probably will never come through this little town again. You only came here because your daughter was playing hockey. So we've become friends." And so he said, "We are amici di passaggio." And he came up with such a beautiful way of explaining what we were. We're friends in passing. And you know what? He opened his heart to me. He opened his family to me, and created such a phenomenal environment so the team, all the other parents and kids on the team, could experience that warmth, and that made our experience just that much better. But now it's past. I can tell the story, and it's again taught me something else about friendships and about life. If you are open and make that person's life better, that's what it's all about. Does it mean I got to stay in touch with him? And I think I still have his contact information here. I'm probably going to send him a note today. I'll find him and send him a note, say, "Hey, I was just thinking about you," which in fact, I'm going to write that down to contact him from Torino, because he had impact on my life and made my life better. And I think if you're not open, and again, you know what your expectations are. The expectation was he was just going to give us a good time for that time. He wasn't expecting that I become pen pals with him and share things with him going forward. If it happens, great. If not, it's all good.
Yeah. So that story struck me too, because it's anyway, it's besides the point. I don't want to go down that, because I promised you one last question after that. But you did say, just as a side note, and maybe it's related, and you've said this to me personally a couple of times: stop doing things that drop your energy. Don't ghost people or things. Just say no and move on. Simple. Just say no and move on.
Yeah. But it's all part of being, everything's about expectations. And the moment that you create expectations that you can't deliver on, it just leads to disappointment. And then everybody around you thinks that you don't deliver. Instead, if they ask you for something, say, "You know what? I can't do that." And they may be taken aback, saying, "Why can't you do that?" Say, "Because I know right now in my capacity, these are all the things that can come in. If I promise you that, I'm going to fail. And failure doesn't work well for me, because what it does is it takes away my confidence. It takes away my positive energy. And if I take away that positive energy, the next time I'm in a meeting, the next time I'm in doing something, people are going to notice that. And I'm not going to be able to just be the person I want to be."
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to surround myself with people and in situations and doing things that increase my energy. I actually, if I go and do a presentation or teach or speak to someone and help them with something, whether making an investment decision, a life decision, or whatever, oddly, they think I'm giving them energy. It's kind of funny. I'm actually taking their energy to do what I'm doing. And I ask my people, instead of thinking about, what it is that you're good at or great at, but what is it that builds your energy? When you do something, you never get tired when you're doing this. What is it that you do that you never get tired of doing? Because that's probably what you love to do. It's when you're not calculating how many minutes you were doing it, how many hours it took you to do it. It was just the outcome was all that mattered.
Last question. What does greatness mean to you?
Greatness is difficult. Greatness means to me, I can't evaluate greatness in myself. I can evaluate greatness in others based on my expectation for whatever expertise I'm evaluating. But evaluating greatness in myself is something that's very, very difficult. So evaluating greatness, I can do it in others based on a bench line of what I think or have researched what greatness is. And I always want to surround myself with greatness. I love people that are passionate about whatever it is they're doing. So, why did you spend time talking to that? You spend time talking to the cleaning lady, or you spend time talking to the guy who's the front desk guy at your office, or why do you spend time talking to the neighbor who has nothing going on in his life? Actually, they have things. Each of these people is passionate about what they do. For them, they do something where they're not calculating how much time it takes. And so I want to learn, why is it they do that? What is it about that drives them to do that? Whatever the case might be that it is. But in myself, I think greatness can only be measured by others, and they see, and when others speak of me, when I'm not there, and they'll say, well, that guy, he's great. He did this or he does that, and that's how I'll know that it is, that I've had impact on people in a way that when I'm not there, they'll have some positive things to remember about
it. One of the things I'm going to take away from this conversation, and I wrote it because I also lost track of time. It's the importance of finding why somebody, or being around somebody who loses track of time when they do something or are something. That's something I'm going to take away from this. Anthony, it was many, many months in the making, dude. But thanks. Thanks for sharing.
Years. We've known each other a long time, Luciano.
Yes, and hopefully many more. Many more years.
Many more, definitely.
Thanks, Anthony.
Keep up the pursuit. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, it's Enrico Colantoni here, actor, director, and dedicated napper. Like what you heard today, there's more to come. Make sure to subscribe to Behind Greatness and learn about our live events at inspirenorth.com. You'll also find links to our social media right on our website, so be sure to give us a like and follow. Until next time, stay inspired.